Okay, so we've got quite the story for this deep dive. It's
Man.
juicy. It's got everything you could ask for. I mean, really.
It's a bit of a doozy.
It is a doozy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this. There's visions.
Mm-hmm.
There's infidelity.
Mm-hmm.
There's revenge. It's a lot.
Sounds like real life.
It does sound a lot like real life. And that's kind of what we're here to unpack, right? What can we learn about people, about relationships?
How about choices?
About choices, about all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're diving into this transcript. And right off the bat, we are introduced to Sandra.
Oh, Sandra.
Sandra the maid, who also claims to have visions of the future. Now, what did you think about that when you first read that?
Well, my first thought, honestly, was, is she for real?
Yes.
Is she a true seer, or is there something else going on?
Well, and it's so interesting because she does have some pretty accurate predictions.
Yeah.
I mean, she predicts Alex's accident.
Mm-hmm.
She predicts his affair with Sarah. She even knows that he's going to get his contract bid rejected initially.
Right. And that's the thing that gets me, I think, because the way the story unfolds, it's almost like Sandra's pronouncements are tapping into these anxieties that the characters already have.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, Alex is already worried about the contract. Judy is already insecure about the marriage. And then Sandra comes in with these pronouncements, and they just amplify those fears.
Yeah, because even if they're not totally true, it's almost like she's planting those seeds.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there are those moments where Sandra's motives become even more questionable. I mean, when Alex wins the contract, remember, she asks him for anything.
Anything. That's a loaded word.
It is.
Yeah.
And then later there's that scene where she seems to poison Judy's drink. It's
Yeah.
like, oh.
Okay, no, hold on. Is she genuinely trying to help this family, or does she have something else up her sleeve?
Yeah, is she trying to guide them or lead them into total chaos?
Maybe a little of both.
Maybe it's like this twisted maternal figure almost.
Right.
Like she knows what's best for them, but her methods are very questionable.
Yeah.
And it creates this really interesting power dynamic, right? Because they kind of need her insights, but at the same time, they're terrified of her.
And they don't trust her.
No, they don't trust her at all. And then you got Alex and Judy's marriage,
Yeah.
which, oh boy, that's a whole other can of worms.
Right, because on the surface, they seem to have it all, right? Successful, beautiful home. But as we dig deeper,
It all starts to unravel.
It does.
Big time. We find out that Alex is having an affair with Sarah, who is Judy's best friend.
Best friend, no less.
It's brutal. And then we learned that Judy had a past encounter with Tony, who is Alex's best friend.
The betrayal is everywhere.
It's like a spider web of betrayal.
Yeah.
And they both try to justify their actions. I mean, Alex keeps using the word culture.
Culture.
Yeah, like it's some kind of excuse. And Judy, she's so desperate for a child. It's like they're both grasping at straws to make themselves feel better about the pain they're causing. But what I found really fascinating is how the power dynamics in their relationship shift throughout the story.
Tell me more about that.
So at first it seems like Judy has the upper hand. She knows Alex's secrets and she's not afraid to use them. She threatens to expose him. But then, as Alex gets more successful, especially with that contract,
Contract.
the tables turn.
Yeah, that contract is interesting. It becomes almost like a symbol.
Oh,
I think for Alex, it represents his ambition, his desire for success. But it also reveals a lot about how far he's willing to go to achieve that.
He does become kind of obsessed with it.
Yeah.
He's listening to Sandra's cryptic warnings. He's fasting. He's putting all his energy into work. It's like he's willing to do whatever it takes.
And there's this irony, right? Because he loses the contract when he gives in to temptation,
Yeah.
breaks his fast with Judy, but then he wins it back after he fires Tony and seemingly reconciles with Judy.
Almost like he's being tested,
Yeah.
right? Like his integrity's on the line.
Yeah. And I wonder, too, if the contract represents something different for Judy. Maybe it's about financial security, or maybe it's her way of trying to solidify her position in the marriage. Oh, that's interesting.
It's like this object that takes on different meanings depending on who you're talking about.
Exactly. And speaking of different meanings, there are some recurring themes throughout this whole story that I think are really worth unpacking.
Like what?
Well, first and foremost, the secrets, the deception. It's like everyone in the story is hiding something.
It's true. It's like they're all wearing masks. And it creates this atmosphere of tension and suspicion. You never know who to trust.
Right. And woven into those secrets, you have betrayal and forgiveness. You have friends betraying friends, spouses betraying spouses.
But then there's also forgiveness offered, sometimes conditionally.
It's like this cycle of hurt and reconciliation.
And you've got manipulation, too, the way these characters use knowledge and secrets as weapons to get what they want.
Oh, yeah. Like Sandra with her visions, Judy with her knowledge of Alex's infidelity, Alex with his discovery of Judy's past. It's all about leverage.
It's like a game of chess.
Exactly.
But what I find most intriguing is this constant interplay between the supernatural and the natural.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, is Sandra really a seer? Does she have this genuine connection to the other side?
Or is it all just a very clever act?
Right. Maybe she's just really good at reading people.
And manipulating them.
Maybe. But it makes you think, right? Like if we had access to glimpses of the future, would we use that knowledge for good?
Or would it corrupt us?
Would we end up manipulating people to get what we want?
It's a slippery slope.
It is. And then, of course, there's that moment where Sandra reveals that Tony, the very friend that Alex fired, might hold the key to his survival.
Now that changes everything.
Right. It does.
Yeah.
It throws this whole idea of revenge versus redemption into a new light. Like, is Alex willing to swallow his pride to save his own life?
And can he truly forgive Tony after everything that's happened?
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But that's what we're here for.
That's the fun of it.
Exactly.
I mean, talk about a tough situation, right? He's got to choose between his pride and possibly his life.
It's like this ultimate test of character. Can he let go of that anger and resentment?
And to save himself, no less.
Exactly. And it really makes you think about the nature of forgiveness, right? Is it truly genuine if it's driven by self-preservation?
It's a good question. Especially because we see this theme of forgiveness popping up in other parts of the story, too.
Oh, totally. I mean, look at Judy. She's trying to find forgiveness, not just from Alex, but from Sarah, too. You know, the best friend who betrayed her.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
It really shows how interconnected these relationships are, right? One betrayal can set off this chain reaction of hurt and broken connections.
Like a domino effect.
But even amidst all this chaos, there are these glimmers of hope. I mean, we see Alex and Judy trying to rebuild their marriage. And Sandra, she decides to stay on.
Yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet ending, don't you think?
It is. It's like there's this sense of relief that they're finding some peace. But you can't help but wonder, can they really move on from all that's happened?
Will those scars ever truly fade?
Especially with Sandra still in the picture.
Right, because she's like this wild card.
Total wild card.
Yeah.
I mean, would she keep sharing her visions even if they cause more problems?
What? Didn't Alex ask her to stop?
He did. But she also said she couldn't promise anything.
Oh, that's right. It's like having this ticking time bomb in the house.
Exactly. You just never know when those visions are going to resurface and upend everything.
And that whole thing about her being able to see the future, real or not, it gives her so much power.
Doesn't it? And it kind of isolates her too, right?
Yeah.
Like she's always on the outside looking in.
Knowing things that other people don't.
And her words carry so much weight. I mean, they can really impact people's lives.
Talk about a heavy burden.
It makes you wonder if maybe Sandra herself is searching for some kind of redemption.
Redemption? How so?
Well, maybe she feels guilty about all the turmoil she's caused.
Oh.
And by staying on, she's trying to make things right.
Trying to use her visions to guide them towards a better future.
Or maybe it's all just part of some bigger game we don't understand yet.
Okay, now you're really making me think. It's like we're playing our own little game trying to figure out this story.
We are, aren't we? We're putting together the pieces, trying to decipher everyone's motives and predict what's going to happen next.
And that's what makes it so compelling, right?
It is. Because in a way, it's like we're looking into a mirror, seeing reflections of our own lives and relationships.
And our own struggles with ambition, betrayal secrets.
And in the end, it leaves us with more questions than answers.
Which might be the most interesting part of it all.
I think you're right. It doesn't give us this neat and tidy resolution.
Instead, it challenges us to keep thinking about the possibilities.
To imagine what might lie beyond the final page.
To keep exploring the complexities of human nature.
Yeah. And it's like we close the book, but you're still left wondering what happens next.
Do they really change?
Right? Are they able to escape their past?
Or are they doomed to just repeat the same mistakes over and over again?
It's like that saying, right? People don't change, they just get better at hiding it.
But maybe that's just part of being human.
Maybe. We're all flawed, right? Capable of both great and terrible things.
It's that whole nature versus nurture debate, I guess. Are we products of our environment, or are some things just predetermined?
And in this story, it's not just the personal baggage. It's that supernatural element, too.
Those visions?
Yeah, those visions. They're like this constant reminder that the past isn't really past.
And that maybe the future is already set.
It's like Sandra represents that whole struggle between fate and free will.
Do we have any control over our own destinies?
Or are we just puppets dancing on a string?
Makes you think. It does. It makes you think about all the choices we make, big and small.
And how even the smallest things can have these huge consequences.
Like a butterfly flapping its wings and causing a hurricane on the other side of the world.
Exactly, chaos theory.
But I think that's also what makes this story so powerful, right? It doesn't give us any easy answers.
It forces us to confront the messiness of life.
The ambiguity.
The unknown.
And I think that's what we're all trying to do in our own lives, aren't we? Make sense of this crazy world.
Find meaning in the chaos.
Figure out our place in it all. And maybe that's the real takeaway from all of this.
It is. It's not about finding the right answers. It's about asking the right questions.
And being open to the possibility that there might not be any answers at all.
Maybe it's just about the journey.
The exploration.
And that's what we've been trying to do here today. Explore this story in all its complexities.
And hopefully leave you with some things to think about.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with one final question. Something to ponder.
If you had the chance to look into your own future, would you?
And if you saw something you didn't like, would you try to change it?
Or would you just accept your fate?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.